Someone had asked me the other day about how to stop drinking soda. And she, in the short sentence that she had asked me that question, I was supposed to ask other things, but I was in a hurry that day in the Immediate Care Center, and I couldn't get into it in detail, but the bottom line is sugar in soda, it's usually the addictive process, is more powerful than the caffeine in soda. Even with the sodas in the 80s going to caffeine free, we're still having people that are indulging and can't stop on soda use. Soda, pop, Coke, 7-Up, Sprite, whatever you want to call it. The offending agent is sugar. It can be argued that sugar can actually cause problems with the body. There's no question that it results in a hormonal response that makes you feel good for a short time. It'll bring up glucose levels in the bloodstream very quickly and induce a little stimulation. The brain only allows certain chemicals into what's called the blood-brain barrier because the brain is so sensitive. So one of those things that the brain allows in is glucose. Glucose is the energy source for the brain, so you have to have carte blanche to get in. The problem is when you overindulge in glucose, the brain will get excessively irritated from the high concentration suddenly. So the body fixes that by forcing excessive amounts into the fat by secreting insulin. It's called the insulin dump. So if you take in high sugar, high concentrated fructose syrup, any form of sugar, the body, if it's working properly, will usually be able to put that away quick, but it usually puts it away in fat, and that's how we get fat. That's how America is having this obesity issue. Dr. Robert Lustig pointed it out beautifully. He's a physician out of California, and he pointed it out beautifully, and I'll put a link to his video at one of the universities in California, and showed how fructose, high fructose corn syrup is causing problems with obesity, with liver failure, with liver congestion. But I'll put that link, you can watch that. It's a little bit long, but easy to follow. For the matters of my friend, my patient, the suggestion is if we're trying to get off of soda, then the likelihood is we have an issue with a dependency, right? When there's a dependency, don't try to do it alone because you'll probably wind up with a little bit of a headache, a little bit of irritability, difficulty with sleep during that week, and the chances are you might go back to just saying, I'm going to go back to the soda and forget it, I'll get rid of it next time. This is one of the problems with going cold turkey, even with cigarettes. I always hear this with cigarettes, I'm going to go cold turkey. Well, it usually doesn't work because you're on the cigarettes for some reason. Let's get you some help. The thing with soda is most people don't want to really see a counselor or a psychiatrist just to stop soda. When in all actuality, if we do that, it'll lead to a healthier lifestyle. You'll probably lose weight, you'll probably be able to sleep better, you'll probably be able to lower your cholesterol, get your liver not to be so backed up, and also lower your sugar, get off of your blood pressure medicine. So there's a whole constellation of positive things that can result. And that's where I think it would be helpful to get some counseling or some guidance from either a nutritionist or I believe a registered dietitian. If you don't want to do that, don't have any insurance or your co-pays are too high, get somebody that's done it before. Go to the library, read on your own. The internet's great, you just have to know who's giving you the information from the internet. But I would usually say if you're going to be trying to get off of sugar, or like soda, it's one of the same really, but if you're trying to stop something like that, get ready to do it. Usually I would say if you're going to be stopping, then prepare, because that week that you stop will probably be full of a whole bunch of the symptoms I mentioned previously, and sometimes you can kind of truncate or shorten a time frame of those symptoms by detoxing. I'll put a link to a detox video I've done before. It sometimes will get you to feel better faster. I always say it's important to let everybody else know that you're going to be stopping, including your family, because if you try to stop but yet your husband, your spouse, your kids are trying to still continue on their ways, they're going to have it in their refrigerator, it's going to make you less likely to be successful. So everybody else has to be on the same page, and why not get them off? But if they're not ready to stop sugar, forget it. You'll probably have a big argument. So sometimes just being aware of how to empower yourself it will be important. And that's why I have this demonstration here. Whole food. You can get sugar from whole food. Oranges, fruits are full of fructose. I have a lot of patients who juice, and they like to juice more with vegetables than fruits because of the sugar load. You can get a sugar effect from whole fruit, but usually because you eat with the fiber in it, it'll slow down the absorption and you won't have that big rise that you will with pop or soda. So as best as possible, if you're going to get it from, make sure if you're going to be stopping soda that you have ample access to fruits and vegetables in your house. These are portable vegetables. You can get some portability to them, but how easy is this? You just get a couple of these from the fresh produce bin and you put them in your bag and you keep them with you and you open it when you're hungry or getting the withdrawal symptoms. Some of my patients are into juicing. My father introduced me into it. Whether you do a Vitamix and keep the fiber in, or you do a Breville and you throw out the fiber, that also will release a lot of sugar suddenly. So if you mix in the sugar with the vegetables and the fruits together, it might equilibrate everything so it's healthier and doesn't give you that sugar spike. You have to know that when you have anything of this, this is probably $1 or $2 for this big bag of sugar, you have to realize that this is going to be a problem. You have to try to read labels, and labeling in the United States is not so great. It'll give you, if you read the labels, the total amount of sugar, but your food industries are not required to divulge or label anything that's a sugar additive. That would be like pomegranate in yogurt. Yogurt by itself is great. Yogurt with flavor, like vanilla flavor, or yogurt with pomegranate in it, you have sugar in pomegranate that gets put into the yogurt, so it adds to the amount of grams you see on the label. The American Heart Association has suggested for women that your maximum amount of sugar per day is 6 teaspoons, or about 100 calories. For men, it's about 9 teaspoons, or 150 calories. And I read, I don't remember where it was, but it's about 4 teaspoons for a child. That can vary, but if you look at one of the biggest offenders, Red Bull, in this small 8.4 ounce can, there are 27 grams of sugar. It doesn't translate into calories. So the easy formula to remember is, if you want to translate how many calories are in a can, you just take the grams. This is 27. Let's just round that to 30. 30 times 4. So you take the grams, you multiply it by 4, and that'll give you the total calories per day. And if a man is supposed to have 150 calories per day, 30 times 4, 120, you've pretty much maxed your total consumption in a day with one can, one tiny little can of this. And when you do a couple of these, and then you have lunch, breakfast, you have a snack, and you have dinner, you see how the average American has been averaging about, the average American is averaging about 22 grams a day of sugar. And that usually results, as Dr. Robert Lustig points out in his lecture, to about 5 pounds a year, just with a standard American diet. Not to mention all the cravings that you might get, the irritability you might get, the cholesterol, the blood pressure, the sugar, and then the trips to the doctor's office because of all the medicine side effects you're getting, because of all those things that come from a bad diet. These are things you have to realize when you just have an addiction or dependence to a soda. But you have to know that the food industry does this because they want you to buy their product. And what better way to guarantee that somebody's going to buy your product than to load it with sugar, a chemical that's going to essentially make you addicted. Getting off the sugar on your own is tough. Going cold turkey is just the same way as going cold turkey off of tobacco. Usually it doesn't work. We'll have a couple of people who can do that, but the majority of Americans cannot do that. And with this e-cigarette coming out, the majority of teenagers will not be able to get off nicotine without help. Same thing with sugar. The only problem is, in my patient's case, the likelihood of her going to seek out counseling for getting off soda is low. Now, if I were to spend an hour to 90 minutes with her and figure out why did we get to this point, where did sugar fit into the life, why are we having to get that high, what else is going on, is there a thyroid problem, do you have any other addiction issues, is there a problem with interrelationships. So all that does help to show patients about why it's not just soda, it's not just an addiction, there's usually something that led up to it. I usually call it multiple coats. If you put on a coat as a coping skill when you're young, and you put on another coat on top of that, and just have coats put on top of coats, it's going to be hard to get to the bottom coat, and you'll be stuck with about 20 coats eventually. They have to peel off one at a time, and if you're successful, you get down to the bottom layer. You can't do that without help. So my suggestion is usually get counseling. If the counseling is from a friend or from a registered dietitian or from an exercise physiologist, great. If it's from a doctor that knows about nutrition, that's fine too. Usually it takes a team. When you start the process, I think going through a little detox would be helpful. It gets that 1 week of side effects from withdrawal down to a couple days, if anything. And if you can do or start that a couple days of side effects from not having sugar and caffeine into 1 weekend, that'd be great. So I'll put a link to the detox lecture I've done in the past to help you figure out how to get through this withdrawal stage. The other thing to understand is that usually when you take one thing away from life, you'll have to put something else in. That void doesn't just sit there. Usually it'll be filled in by something else. So if you just make sure you've got the fruits available, make sure you hang out with people that know about nutrition or that kind of follow the same mantra of trying to get off something. You go to your local groceries, your local Fruitful Yield, your local Whole Foods, your library, you look and seek out people who have done it before and continue to do it. You can certainly go to Weight Watchers or a center that has done successful planning for lifestyle change. And worst case scenario is you at least get your family involved, because if you're having a sugar issue, then the likelihood is very high that your spouse or your kids will have the same thing. So if you all understand, maybe even Netflix, there's Food Matters, there's other videos that are on there, the Engine 2 Diet, Forks Over Knives. There's great videos that are out there that have gone through different ways to get into a healthy lifestyle. Bottom line is that don't continue, because this will cause problems in the long run. But at the same time, get some help, and hopefully you'll be successful in trying to take this away and put this in.